Hi. It kicked me out.
Hey Jen, it did kick you out. I apologize. Yeah, Zoom is not playing well with Facebook today, and I'm still trying to get it to yeah, it's giving me the site can't be reached in the RTMPS, which is not normal. So here's what I'm thinking. Why don't we try to do this live on Facebook, which is not going
Okay.
to be easy. Um, but wait, it actually seems like it is working now. Hold on. Why is it doing that?
Because
Okay, this is so weird. Hold on. See, it actually seems like it's working now. I just went in to stop everything and now let's see here.
the third party has gotten really weird lately.
It's it's never a never ending source of super fun.
And then
Okay, Miss
wasting.
Jen, I don't know why I don't have you in here. Let me pull you in. And apologies, there you are. All right. It looks to me like right now we are
I fix this.
maybe online. Let's see. Yep, it says I'm live. I see you. I think we're online.
Okay.
Okay. That was really, really difficult, and I apologize to for being 10 minutes late. Um, we actually started 15 minutes early and still managed it. Okay. So here is what we want to know. What makes you talk? What makes you makes you tick, Jenn Bullard? Uh, how do you write? What do you write? How do you choose what you write? We want to know everything.
A lot of times I get like dreams of stuff, and
Okay.
so that's like how things will start. Or I always say they talk at me. Like I
Yes. Mhm.
have absolutely no control over what's happening or who's happening next. Like they control the
Mhm.
entire process. So I would say I write and they drive and they drive the boat, so to speak. I write kind of like conscious stream. Whatever is happening is happening. Whatever, like I see it like a movie kind of thing. You hear people talk
Yeah.
about that, right? That's how I see it, and so I just write as fast as possible to try to get it all out.
So do you I was actually talking about this last month with Rebecca Rave. Do you see it in
Hmm.
your head like a full movie? Do you see color? Is it
I
a black
do.
and white?
I
Yeah,
see
yeah, you've got the
color.
full.
I get the full.
Hmm.
That's also how I see my characters too. Is
Yep.
I
Hmm.
can straight I can see them in my head, like whether or not they're going to have wavy hair, whether or not it's going to be curly, whether or not it's going to be black or white or blue. Like I can
Yeah.
see it in my head. Hmm.
Right, right. And do you find that there are some whose voices come to you a lot faster, a lot more easily?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I have seen that sometimes some of the guys are a little bit like slower for me just because the
Yeah.
fact that
Hmm.
like they maybe don't know who they are yet. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And then they flesh out as we go. Like it could be
Right,
because they're
right.
planning on stalking, or it would be because they're like masking, or they're hiding, who they are from like from the female character.
Mhm.
Like there's a lot of reasons why that could end up happening.
Right.
And then
And
like I'll have that moment.
I really love that about your characters is they have these very rich inner lives, and not just the FMC, not just your protagonist, but they all have their shit, and you don't info dump it either. You've got to kind of figure it out. I appreciate that kind of subtlety. I think that it's sometimes missing in romance. Like we get these sort of happy meals of stories where it's all laid out for you so it's not too difficult, and I enjoy engaging my brain and trying to figure out like what makes them tick.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So usually what we do is we open with a sort of a warm up. We've already been chatting a little, but I'm going to do our little fast five um before we get going too far. Let me pull up my notes here. Okay, so our first question is, oh, okay, fuck, Mary kill. So you've already seen this because I did send you the questions ahead of time. So fuck, Mary kill, Shadow Daddy, Tentacle Monster, Fey Prince with a Grudge. And I want to know why.
Okay. So I really have this thing. For bye, Chris, and goodbye. See you later. Um, uh, so
Hmm.
I have a thing for like writing hate sex, right? So like, which always
Hmm.
makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And one of those things is gonna be fuck. It's gonna be always gonna be like
The one that you don't like.
the one you don't like the
Right, right.
one that it just that but bugs you, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so
Yeah. Yes, we know hate sex, don't we? I'm having a little bit of that in my last book, actually. Okay.
they're good. And like, and she's very attached, and so like she has a really
Yeah.
hard time with that.
Yeah.
So okay, Mary, tentacle, because he'd always be interesting. I feel like the tentacle one would always be interesting. And I feel like if you're gonna marry anybody, that definitely has to be like part of it. And then
Right,
kill
right,
would
right.
be the other one, whatever's left.
Would be the Fey Prince, right? The Fey
Yes.
Prince with a
I feel
grudge.
like he would be really like stuck up, right? So yeah.
Sometimes I like the whole Fae thing. I know Akatar has really kind of infected the psyches of the last 10 years of women in a big way. But I always really like the kind of dark, removed, doesn't want to deal with it. My favorite Fae things are the ones where they show up in our world and they're like, God, you're apparently our fated mate, but you can just follow along back here because we want nothing to do with you.
Right.
And like
Exactly.
drag them along on adventures, you know? And the whole time they're going, what an idiot. Those are my favorite. And of course it changes, but I like that beginning of I guess the underestimated human is always a favorite of mine.
Mhm.
Yeah. That actually segues really nicely into one of our questions, but I'm going to actually not jump around. Okay, so what is your go-to? Actually, I guess what I want to know is when do you write? You have three children,
Yep.
three youngish children.
Yes.
So when exactly do you write?
So I retired my husband almost 8 years ago. And
Hmm.
so he usually does Carline and he usually does, all the
Hmm.
things. Um, and so he helps a lot. I write throughout the day. And one of the reasons
Okay.
why I write on my phone is because it's easy for me to like catch a few minutes here
Move
and there.
around. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I write exclusively on my phone because for me it's easier and I type
Okay.
faster that way too. But I write,
Do you have like the biggest iPhone though that you can get so that
yes,
you have plenty of screen? Okay. Yeah.
I
Have you ever thought
do.
about doing like an iPad mini? It might give you just a little bit more room.
It's because it's hard for me to like. My hands tend to cramp. Like once I hit like 4,000 words, my hand starts to cramp. So like I will sit there. You'll see me and sit there and do this, and I'm like rubbing muscle rub, or I'm like messaging my husband. I was like, "Can you come and rub my hands?"
Yeah.
and
Okay,
but
when I
yeah,
do it, when I work on my phone or my iPad, the tips of my fingers all start to hurt. Like they get
yes,
sore.
that
Yes, you're
which
just
makes
like, yes, that is
sense.
something that happens.
That is something that happens, yes, and it's throughout the day, so, like, I'll sit there and I will sprint
Hmm.
usually in the morning because the girls are in school. The baby is going starting kindergarten next year, which is exciting, but
Hmm.
she didn't wanna go to preschool. She said, "I don't wanna go," and I said, "Okay,"
Hmm.
because that no like we
Fair.
discussed, that nobody is making that child do anything, ever.
Yes.
And I understand that, and
Hmm.
like she's incredibly smart. She knows her ABCs, her one, two, threes, etc. She's fine. She'll start in kindergarten when she starts next year.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like my husband is like counting down the days though, like for her to start because then it means it's just the two of us. So he's really excited about that. Like I can go take you
Yeah.
for breakfast. Yeah, he's excited. Because it's been just
Yeah.
the two of us.
Mhm.
So I write throughout the day. And I will write until 2 o'clock in the morning to hit like my 4 to 5,000. My sweet spot 6,000 words a day. So once I hit that,
Okay.
my brain turns off. I'm good. I can roll over and go to sleep. I send whatever I have over to alphas.
Well, that's just, I mean, I might have counted wrong, but did I count 11 books in the last year?
Yes, you did. You did. 11 books in
How
last.
the fuck do you do that, Jen? How do
I
you
know.
do that?
Which
Three
it
books is like killing me.
yeah, it's because I'm like nonstop working. Like
Yeah.
I wrote Broken Dreams was 180,000 words, and I wrote it from
Hmm.
December 20th to January 20th. Yes.
Okay. Well,
I was like, okay,
I'm
the monster book has to be done by the 20th. So I'm sitting at 45,000 words, almost 50,000 words. Yeah, 50,000 words right now. And I started a week and a half ago. So, like, it's just, it's
5,000 a
four to
day.
go.
Yeah.
5,000 a
That'll
day.
do
Mhm.
it. 5,000 a day will do it. Yeah. Well, I am super duper envious. I do not write that quickly. I'm like maybe like when I'm in the swing of it, I can do 3 to 4,000 a day. And maybe, but like every 4 or 5 days, I need to take a day off. And there's also inertia. If I stop for more than 2 days, it gets harder
Hard
and
stuff.
harder to get restarted. There's always a downs, like after I do a release, I spend a week doing promo and stuff, and I'm almost always like wishing that I had just written straight through because on the next project, because I can easily that week will become 2 weeks, will become three. And I'm starting going, I haven't written a single thing in 20 days and I'm gonna die. Yeah,
For me, it's
yeah. So
obsession. It's weird. It's like obsession. Like,
mhm,
I've noticed that if I don't write, I
mhm,
can't think. Like I
mhm.
can't do anything else. Like conversations start to get really funky for me. And
Right.
it's like my entire body shuts down and goes, "We are on strike until you write." And I was like, "That's rude." Fine. So when
That's
we
so
went,
great.
yeah.
Hmm.
So when we went on a trip to New York with the girls
Hmm.
in a car, which from Florida,
That it's a
it's
bit
a
of
long drive. I
the
think he broke my
challenge.
husband. He's like, next time we're flying. But I was
Hmm.
writing. I had my earbuds in and I was writing, and I told him I cannot not write, and he was like, okay, that's fine. You're gonna be in a car for a long period of time.
Even
It's
on a
fine.
vacation, yeah, I gotta go. Yeah.
I gotta go. I gotta go. And he's like, okay. He's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I bought earphones for those times because I'm very sensitive to noise. For those times where
Yes.
I'm in a car and I can't get away, so I put the earphones in, and I'm much better.
I wonder if those loop phones would help you. My daughter has those. She loves them. They kind of like get rid of like the background noise,
I use
but
those for
still
signings. I
you
use
okay,
those for
there you go.
signings, because the background noise of like it's a really
People talking and moving
neurodivergent thing.
around. Yeah.
Yes, that bounces. Restaurants, it
Hmm.
bothers me too. That bounces, and that my brain thinks that it needs to pay attention to all of that, which it doesn't. And so it's trying to
Yeah.
like catch all the little conversations, and it just drains my social battery so much faster and makes my brain just so tired. But if I have them in, I'm only focusing on what's in front of me, and it's much
That's
easier.
great. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. One time I got really high at a Ramones show, and for some reason, all I could hear is the static between the sound of the notes for like an hour. That was all I could
That's
concentrate
terrible.
on. It was awful. I was like 16. I was just like, what is wrong with my head? Like, I could hear nothing, no people, no music. It was just like the sound between sounds.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, yeah, don't do that. No do drugs, kids. Okay. Uh, let's look at our list, Jen. Okay. We also have okay. So I was going to ask you what your go-to midnight snack is. So you do write till 2 a.m., so that's a
Hmm.
possible thing. What
Yep.
is it?
Either gummy bears or potato chips. So my
Gummy
husband always
bears or
has some of
potato?
those, like he'll stick them in my nightstand. He were like he'll like as he's getting ready for like going to
Hmm.
bed, he sticks them in my nightstand. He's like, that's for later because he knows.
Oh my God, that is the sweetest. God, I don't have mine
Yes.
trained at all. Okay.
He wakes up to
If
me
you
a coffee. Like he got trained to eat early on. He
Yeah,
got
yeah.
nicer with coffee.
Mine does a lot of nice stuff. I mean, we've been married 30 years. So it's been a while, but I do not have to have him trained to bring snacks to my nightstand. So, however, I do come to bed sometimes after him, and he has the bed folded down on my side, my favorite ghost
Oh,
hunting shows on television turned on low, and the light on. side. So I guess it's kind of the same thing.
Since mine are so little, my 8-year-old
Hmm.
stole my husband. She also sleepwalks too. So he
Uh-huh.
is like the barrier in the bunk bed. He's 6'3" and he sleeps in her bunk bed with her.
That's so
So,
cute.
and the cat sleeps between his
Yeah.
legs.
Oh my God.
But
When ours were little, we were never in our own beds. It was
no,
always in one of theirs. And sometimes one of us would be in one of their beds, the other would be there was just no. It was
and like
always
that
like the
helps. I mean, I had the baby, and the baby doesn't like it when
yeah.
he sleeps with us. So when we're traveling, that works does not work very well.
Hmm.
But he was like, no, like it's a king size bed. I'm like, kiddo, really? Nope. I'm
Nope.
uncomfortable. Is her go-to complaint. I'm
That's
uncomfortable.
really funny. It's nice when they start sleeping on their own and they don't
Hmm.
need you like that anymore. It's kind of it's weird, especially if you've been doing it for like, I don't know, I think we'd been doing it for like 7 or 8 years by the time our youngest finally was like sleeping through the night without calling out for somebody. Yeah, sleep training was not really our thing. But they both sleep
No.
really well now in their 20s, so I don't think I did anything that broke
Yeah.
them.
That's why I was like, bed sharing is fine. Like,
Bed
it was
sharing,
just
yeah.
easier. And like, I nursed all three of
Yeah.
them. And like, nobody wants to have to get up to go get a kid.
Let me tell you, one night my daughter had a febrile seizure because her she got a fever, it spiked up. And if I
Hmm.
hadn't been sleeping right next to her, I don't know that I would have caught it,
You
you
would
know?
have known. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It was
That's
scary.
scary. Like, once I had one that was like puking, and she's a very silent, quiet, like puker. And like, my kids are never sick, so they didn't know what to. They didn't know. She didn't know what was happening to her
Hmm.
either.
Oh,
And
I love
so
that first time that they can go, what is happening to
yes,
me?
like she'd never been sick, and she was 2 years old, and she was like,
Yeah, I
she was
know. I
disgusted with
remember it with
herself. It
both
was
of
so
mine.
funny. She was so upset about it. And she was like, I'm so sorry.
Terrifying.
And I was like, please don't be. We got this. It's fine. But I mean, if I had been right next to her, there's no way that like a baby monitor or
Absolutely.
something
Yeah,
would
yeah,
have
yeah.
caught that.
No, I think it's a great thing. Okay, if you could have any superpower to help your writing, not just like in general, what would it be?
The synonyms just like popping into my head without having to look them up. That would be awesome. Because
Yeah,
sometimes you
I
use
would
the same words over and over again. You're like, I need another phrase for blah 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 is what I'll put into Google. Because my brain is broken and I'm 4,000 words in and I can't brain
Yeah, yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, I know. I recently reread something I wrote like 2 years ago, was scanning through it for something, and I realized that I do have like definitely a group of phrases that I really like to use over and over again. And I was like, God. And when I wrote that, it was the first time I wrote it, but now I've written that kind of thing 3 times. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I need to work on that myself. Okay, so that's a good superpower. Mine would be just to clone myself completely, like an asexual budding of like another one of me that could just work on other projects while I'm working on my major one.
That would be
Yeah,
nice.
3 of me would probably be perfect. Okay, what was your last great read? And tell me like what about it struck you.
I go through huge book funks because
Okay,
I put myself into a book funk. Like, I will
yeah.
be so excited about what I'm writing, and there will be nothing else like it. And I want to read what I'm
Hmm.
writing. And then I will sit there and I will pick things up and I'll get 3 pages in and I'll DNF. And it's me. It's totally me.
It's
And
mood, yeah, it's mood writing, mood
right.
reading, writing, yeah.
And
Hmm.
so like right now I'm reading, I'll have to get the name of it. It's like I really seem to like best friend's dad like books, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Like those, or dad's best friend books. So like the kind of the forbidden taboo, because it's so
Right.
wild that that's what my brain likes. It used to be MC
Okay.
books or mafia books, like, but I go
Mhm.
through really awful like moments. Something I really liked was this new CM Stump Senich, her
Oh my God, the Witchwood
Witchwood.
Boys.
Yeah, those were really good.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. Y'all, if you're not have not read this series yet, she has
So
one more
good.
to deliver, and I think it's this month.
Hmm.
She uploads them live, so we don't have a date, but that's not such a big deal because she like pre-writes everything, so it's all coming out really fast.
Hmm.
Really really good, dark, weird. I've never read witches like this before. And I love that the guys are just sort of, they're so over it because of the life that they've lived that they
Mhm.
have like no
They're
substance.
unapologetically grumpy.
They're
Like,
grumpy as fuck. Yeah,
it's
I
so
love
good.
that. There's no kissing. They're not kissing up to her at all.
Mhm.
I mean, and you still do have like the archetypes a little bit. There's one that's golden retriever-ish. There's one that's kind
Like
of
cruel,
nerdy,
like
dirty,
golden retriever. Like
but
I've
like
never
also like
seen it.
psycho golden retriever.
Yes, those are my
Yes.
favorites.
Yeah, I love them. And at first, the first book, I was kind of like, I mean, I do like a good love story, and that first book is not a love story.
Mm-mm.
That book is more of a, this is the situation you're in, make the fucking best of it. You
Mhm.
know?
And there's
And
really good hate sex. Like
oh
I
my
think that's
God,
what
the
I like
best.
about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like let me throw
Because
you on
because
the
it's one of
leaves.
those things where they're like
Yeah.
triggered by each other. And I do love the amount of body fluids that go into the potion.
Yes. Oh
I
yeah.
was
And
really
she's
digging
like
that.
horrified but turned on at the same
Oh my
time.
God. I know, I know, I know. Um,
So it
yeah,
has
I
to be
like
stuff like
everything about
that.
those.
Yeah, like this stuff like that is what like pulls me
That
in.
is that makes your brain happy. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It makes a part of my brain happy too. I zip all over the place though. I read just about every genre trope you can imagine. I'm like very eclectic. Which is a problem with mood reading because sometimes I will open something by an author that I adore and I'll get like 5 pages and be like, no, it's not working today. We'll have to try this again another day.
And I know it's me. It's totally me.
It's totally
And
me. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah. Hmm.
that's why I
Yeah.
was like,
I
okay,
agree.
closing, returning to Kindle Unlimited, goes to find something else.
Right, right. You hold on to it because you might come back. I do come back to them too. I mean, I just picked up there was a Sam Hall thing that I picked that I had a copy of and I tried to read it and I was just like, this isn't, my brain is on like fantasy right now and this is kind of contemporary. I can't do it. And then I came back to it just last week and I was like, yes, now I'm in the mood for this.
Hmm. Yeah, I had that all
Absolutely.
the time happen. And then like I'm out and I'm good. And then I, finish a book and I'm right back
Mhm.
in it.
Yeah, I was like I'm about to write a really kind of a lot of blood play. And so I was thinking about how like do I want to go and read my favorite blood play books, like reread them? Or is that going to freak me out because it's like sometimes I'll get into this like I can't write anything this good if I'm like reading something that I'm supposed to be writing. Sometimes
Mhm.
I have to read the opposite, like I would have to go read something cozy if I'm going to write write blood play.
Right. It's
Um
so odd how that all happens. And I was like, I really
yeah.
should read something that's monster because I've never
Mhm.
written,
Yeah, because
you
the
know.
demon thing. That's right. You
Mhm.
were asking me us about demon stuff. Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And my monsters are demons. And
Mm-hmm.
in the book that I'm writing right now, part of that shared world, and it's monster Omegaverse. Never gone that
Monster
way.
Omegaverse. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. It's really
That
fun.
sounds good. Are they all demons and also like have different like designations, or are there different
So
monsters that
they're
have
all
different
alphas,
Okay.
but they're demons. And one
Uh-huh.
demon is a fear demon, and he finds out that he can only feed on his fear from her because they
Okay.
set matched. And so,
Mm.
yeah, so that's how that set
So
matching works for them.
does he have to scare her to
Mhm.
oh.
In order to be able to feed. And so he was like, I'm kind of scared because like he is 1,000 years old, escaped
Mm-hmm.
from hell basically, and his family keeps trying to bring him back, and he's like, not coming back,
Mm.
sorry, and he's a assistant dean, and what's really fun about
Oh, so
him.
you've got a teacher
Yes, they're
staff
all
thing
teachers.
happening.
They're all staff
Uh-huh.
members. So you got that play part too. Yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
when I go all in, I go all in. All the taboo things. Um, and he figures it out. Like he goes and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go do an experiment, see if I can scare some people, and if I'll get energy from it. Nope. So he's like, okay, but she finds out she has a fear kink, so it works really well.
So are you doing a bunch of like Primal Chase stuff? Is that where you're
And
going with
yeah,
it?
so I'm gonna go and
Okay.
do some Primal Chase stuff too. So
I love writing
so
that. I don't know why, but it's super
it's
fun to
so
write.
fun. And so they're
It
living on
is, yeah.
campus. So like he was like, well, one of the teachers was like, well, there's some trees behind us. Like, don't get caught, please. Like, we're all in really good positions. Please don't
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, so it's been really fun. I'm like sitting at
Hmm.
like 50,000 words, and it's also a snow, not Snow White, Sleeping Beauty retelling too. So you have the
Oh.
whole last of her kind hidden
Hmm.
Omega situation too with it, and we open up with her going and getting a tarot card reading. Like just like she just
Hmm.
turned 18. She's like, what the heck, right? She's at a fair and she finds out like some really interesting things about her future that way. So and that's where some of that like prophecy comes um with the Sleeping Beauty.
Hmm.
So it's like interesting. So I kind of rewrote
Oh, I like
and
that.
reimagined it.
Hmm.
So it's been fun.
Have you worked a poisoned apple in there somewhere?
So because this one's Sleeping Beauty, right? Instead, it's the spindle, right? So
Oh my
she
gosh, and I
falls.
was thinking Snow White. I
No,
always
because
get
I
those
said
so
that initially,
confused.
and I was like,
Okay.
not Snow White. That one was done by Alicia. It's Sleeping Beauty, right? So she's gonna be a spindle, and like she's going if she doesn't find all four of her mates by the time she turns 21, she'll fall asleep for 100 years. So it's like really interesting, like
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
so I'm
That's a
like
nice take on it.
really excited about like how that's all going to come into play. And I have no idea how it's going to happen until I write it. Like
Yeah, of
no
course.
idea.
Yep. Well, let's talk about that for a minute because my next
Mhm.
question is, can you walk us through a process for constructing a novel from initial idea to final draft?
So process wise, I always joke that like I don't know what's going to happen, just like nobody else knows
Hmm.
what's going to happen until I write it, right? Um, and sometimes I will be like three-fourths of the way before I start seeing ahead of what I'm writing.
Hmm.
So ahead of like a chapter that I'm writing. This time I was tired. It was time for me to go to bed, but I wrote some notes out. So the next two
Right.
chapters, I kind of know where I'm going because I wrote them last night. Because I wrote the elegant
Yeah. Hmm.
outline. That never really happens for me. But I was like, well, I have to write
Well,
this
as long
before
as I
I'm gonna
have these
forget.
ideas. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting because one of the set matches doesn't recognize what they are because of the fact that in my world, Omegas were wiped out 800 years ago. A lot of these
So what
monsters
could be going on?
they don't know
Yeah.
what's going on. They don't
Hmm.
remember the past, right? One of them had an Omega, she passed away and their entire lineage also passed away too, so he had to watch every single person in his family die.
Oh
And
God.
so he's got like he fought the connection when he recognized it. He totally fought it, because he was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do this again. He said
Right, because it's
like
just pain. Yeah.
it's just
Hmm.
pain, right? Like but part of the prophecy is going to keep her from that from happening. We'll find that out later.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
So
But
this
it's
is interesting
interesting.
to me. Yeah. I started out thinking that I would want to be somebody who plotted it out very carefully because generally I'm kind of um I like being organized. I really enjoy lists, that sort of thing. And then the first book that I wrote, I plotted it out and then I started writing it. And within like 3 chapters, I had gone in a completely different direction. And all that time I spent outlining it was kind of wasted. You know, I tried writing out of order one point and wrote a couple of scenes and never found a place to put them. I mean, I really have tried.
So I'm
But in the
very
end,
linear. Like
yeah, in the end,
I
I
have to
have
see
to
it.
write, yeah, I have to write it pretty much exactly as it's going to happen. And I know what the ending of each book is going to be, but I don't always know exactly how I'm getting there until I'm there. Yeah.
I don't always know what the ending's gonna be. So like
Yeah, I
I'm
can't
just
do that. That's
right.
that's chaos. I cannot
Yep.
afford, you know.
And because
No.
I'm kind of like chaos. Like I'm very chaotic. Like
Hmm.
so it works for me. But I was surprised the way I was like, I have the next two chapters kind of like thought out. You know what I mean? And it went
Right.
completely different than what I thought it was going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
it's frustrating when you put the, at least for me, when I put work into like writing down exactly how I want things to happen, and then my brain goes, "Hey, you know what?" While we're writing it. Would be really
which is
funny
why
if
I
this
don't
other
often
person
plot.
came in.
Yes, exactly. Like something you go in a different direction completely. And you're
Or
like,
you
oh,
or you or you stick to your freaking outline and you get to the end of the chapter and you go, this is kind of lame and I'm not really buying it. And why would she make that choice? Like when I'm writing it, I'm much more in character and I can like make those decisions from a much more, I don't know, like evolved place. Right, right. When I'm
you're in the
making an
thick of it.
outline, yeah, when I'm making an outline, like everything sounds good. So
And that's why I
yeah,
can't do it.
absolutely.
Because the problem for me is when I outline, I can't see anymore. And so I get stuck.
And you know, that makes sense because it's a different part of our brain, the
Mm-hmm.
creative brain and sort of the logistics brain are in a different place. We talk about editing and writing don't use the same place. Like your different parts of your hemispheres light up when they look at them under,
That makes
you know,
sense.
yeah. And the editing brain is the same one that is using that you're planning things with. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not the same as the creative brain. Yeah, totally makes sense.
So when I'm also doing like
Hmm.
Living Words and Darkest Nights and Saved by My Buyers and
Yeah.
Showbiz, those are all connected.
Hmm.
I
Yes.
wrote my duet 2 years ago, not knowing they would all be connected.
That's kind of cool.
Right. So like people joke and they're
Hmm.
like, how does this happen? I was like, I don't
How
know.
did you
Like,
how did you plan that out?
right. I was like, it didn't it's a happy accident. Like, so
The
I don't
happy
applaud it.
accidents, I live for them. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
live for those moments where you when I wrote the first book in my series, there are a couple of quotes we've now found that are really crazy breadcrumbs for how it all worked out that I had no sense that the way things were going to go. And I have a couple of quotes that just sound very much like I'm setting up things 4 books ahead of time. I was
That's
not.
so fun. You're like, I sound
I
so smart, even
I
though.
sound so smart right now. I love that. I love that for me. Okay. I have one thing I really want to talk to you about, so I'm just going to shove it in right here.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little bit in our chat about grovels,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I said let's chat about this on camera. Because there's a couple things. Number one, grovels are really great angsty things to write.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I mean, readers are almost never satisfied with them. I think we can
Mm-hmm.
agree that like it's you're always going to have someone popping into your reviews and going, there wasn't enough. He didn't crawl over broken glass for this. You
There
know?
was too much. Like in Forget, people were like, there were times where I just wanted her just to give in, like, and I was,
Yes, or in the other direction, absolutely, where people, and it just comes down to, we everybody's different, and your need. I mean, there are. I was thinking about this the other day with that the Kings of Quarantine,
mm-hmm,
which I thought had a decent grovel because
mm-hmm,
she made a list of everything that had been done to her and she got them back. But I
yep.
was thinking also about somebody was like, yeah, but it wasn't enough. And then somebody else was like, I thought she was too harsh on them. And I thought there is really literally no way to make everybody
It's
happy.
so subjective, which is also what's fun
Incredibly.
about it too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? What was it? In Tangled in Knots, the
Mm-hmm.
dedication is um fated mates means fated always. Meaning like it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter what happens between point A and B.
Right.
You
Mm-hmm.
are still fated. You still have to work it out. They're still going to
Mm-hmm.
revolve and get back into your life somehow. You know what I mean? Like you can write them
Yeah.
off and they will still manage to find a
Mm-mm.
way to pop in front of you like on a
Yeah.
street that they're not supposed to be in. Why are you
Because
here?
that's honestly how like fate works in a lot of ways. I
Yes.
think it just keeps
Mhm.
putting things in front of you until you're ready to deal with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And so for some people, it's like write it off and write them off and never ever again.
Mhm.
Um, I came up
People
with
have
this
told me
idea.
she
Yeah.
got should have ended up with somebody out with the other people, like, and I was like,
Yeah.
but they have their own person. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like they have their own mates. They are best friends though. You know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah.
so like sometimes your like fated person is platonic, completely platonic. But you know what I mean?
Yes.
There's
Hmm.
this saying that you might have three soulmates. The person that you marry and you have a life with,
Hmm.
and one that you know is your best friend, completely platonic, etc., right? And
Right.
there's one more, so like they all have places in your life, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
They just may
Absolutely.
not have the places that our readers want them to.
I was thinking about somebody asked me why I was including another writer asked me why I was including a grovel because they are known for making fans unhappy, truthfully. And if you don't have to write one, why would you? Um, and I really decided that it's because I live for that moment that the one who's done the wrong thing realizes it. I live for the moment that their stomach like falls out,
Right.
that they're hit with that realization of what they've done, of
Mhm.
what they've caused, you know? And I don't know why, but that angsty moment, it's like
It's
one of
so
my
good.
favorite things to read. It's so good. And I decided that, yeah, I needed to write one. So I was
Mhm.
like, I don't know I'm ever going to write anything again, but I'm going to stick every single trope that I like into these books if it kills me. And this is going into, yeah. And I was also talking to you about how the grovel doesn't always have to be to the FMC, right?
Mhm.
Because when you're dealing, especially with these polyamorous reverse harem, why choose situations, you have more than one person, more than two people in a relationship.
Mhm.
And even if they're just metas, they
Mhm.
all are, are, they all may be harmed by what the one person is doing,
Mhm.
so I'm really leaning into the grovel isn't to the FMC, the grovel is to the relationship that they all have, um, and hoping that maybe that gets me like a get out of jail free card for people who don't feel like grovels are ever enough.
So it depends because sometimes
Mhm.
readers misunderstand. Because I kind of did that with Tangled in Knots because
Yes, and
Morris,
we talked
yeah,
about that. Hmm.
my beta, like they had to apologize to him too because of the terrible position that he was in, right at
Hmm.
the auction with Tangled in Knots. It was a really
Hmm.
awful position for him to be in, and
But I think that one was like really understandable to me. Like,
yes,
I don't know
mhm.
why I didn't struggle with that one.
Oh,
I
good, yeah,
struggled a little bit more with Saved by My Buyers.
hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that one, yeah,
Um,
that one was. Oh, I love that story so much.
you're like, it was so good. Yeah. Because people read dark romance because they want to read about these extremes. I mean, when you get into it, when you read, like when you pick up something that says this is a dark romance book, like expect to be pushed, right?
Mhm,
Expect to be out of your comfort zone
mhm.
and expect to read things that make you uncomfortable and that maybe make you kind of mad.
Say My
There's
Buyer by
a
My Buyers was definitely that one because
Mhm.
Dahlia masked so hard in that
Mhm.
book. Everything was fine. Everything was fine,
Everything was fine.
right? Like didn't explain to Jack how bad things were. So like in a way, he had no idea either what was happening until he did. And then he was like, don't go home. Don't go home. And he's like, I have to. Like,
Yeah.
I have to go in because she's there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
so
Mhm.
she was
Yeah.
stuck in this really impossible space.
Yeah.
And she
Mhm.
made a really hard choice. And then all of
Mhm.
them were unhappy for years due to it.
And
But
then
still,
everyone was mad and sad for a
yeah,
long time.
but they still managed to find each other again. You
Yes.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
that
that
I
was the
love.
good. Yeah. Yeah, that final, yeah, I don't know. I I have added a part in the last few weeks, last week actually. I read through my grovel and I decided that it wasn't enough and that I felt like there needed to be a sacrifice, like that was somewhere in the same vicinity of what had been done to the FMC. And I'm big on those symbolic, like you lost this person should lose this, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I just in the last week was like, yeah, there has to be more. So it's been on my brain, the grovel thing, and is it enough? And is it ever freaking enough? Like there are those moments where you're like, honestly, this person really should just go and never come back again. But
I
that's
like
not
to
how it
shoot
works because that's
people
just that's
in
your
my
fated
grovel.
mate.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I tend to like to shoot people as like
Hmm.
their pain, as their situation. Like you
No, I
shot
mean
me,
that's
I should shoot
totally,
you. Yeah. And so
yeah.
like that, I've seen that start to happen in my books. And I was like, man, I really like pain, I guess. Like already two
Yeah.
books where I've like shot somebody or they've walked in front of a bullet literally for somebody. Like
Hmm.
how much more can you say I love you other than like walking into something like that, knowing it's
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
hit
yeah.
you, right?
Knowing
So,
it's going to hit you. Hmm.
but it's
Yeah,
been hard.
bully stuff is really hard. I know that a lot of Omegaverse, there seems to be, I've read quite a few of them where it's like, let's all pretend like we don't like her, so she'll go away because we're interested in X or we're not interested in X or,
Yeah.
this sort of fake, like, let's treat her badly, but then it turns out you really are treating her badly. And those ones are often hard for me to come back from. And I don't know why exactly. I would imagine like a psychologist could probably like why that one really bothers me. Like I can put up with a lot of other stuff, but that whole like just shutting the Omega down when they're in your house and acting like they don't like them, even though you do, that just drives me crazy. Like that's my button.
Trying to think about where that happened for me. Not my sin that happened.
Yeah, a little
Um,
bit not my sin, definitely.
they had a hard time.
But Flynn
Like
kind of
with
made
that.
up for that, didn't
He
he? I
did.
mean,
He
because
did.
and that's the thing, if there
They
if
didn't
there
want to
is like
offend him.
a release valve, like somebody like
Right.
one of them goes, I'm breaking ranks, then I'm okay. You
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, no, Flynn definitely was like,
The-
"It's okay. You can like
yeah.
more than one person. Like, you can have more than one person." I think one of the things too was like society tells you you're supposed to only be in love with one person, and like
Yeah.
they had a hard time with that. Even though they were all polyamorous and they were all together in a pack, like
Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah.
you're only supposed to have one,
One Omega.
Omega,
Yeah.
and
It's
that's
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
that was their
remember
issue.
did you I'm sure you read like Pack Darling,
Hmm.
Lola Rock, like just God, I love those books so much. But exactly what we're talking about here, it drove me crazy at the same time. Like
They
I
definitely
was
were like,
so
nope.
into them, but at the
Hmm.
same time, it was that same just we don't need one, we don't need an we don't need you. We're just putting up with you. Um, I yeah, that was a tough one to read.
It was.
But holy
My eyes were
moly,
so puffy reading it through.
yeah,
I read it in
I
like
have
years ago.
yeah, I have physical copies of those books. I like them so much though. So.
I read them in 3 days, and my eyes were so swollen. My husband's like,
Holy
"What's wrong?"
moly, I know those were so good.
They
Like
were good.
I have a couple of those series that just live forever in my brain. I really loved Elizabeth Steer's Omega Concealed Revealed thing. I could read those again and again. And Lola and the Millionaires,
I've
Catherine
heard that
Miller.
one.
Oh, so good. Yeah. Not dark, really. I mean, a little bit, but mostly just really well written and heartfelt. Yeah. Okay. Let's skip on to we talked a little bit about dialogue. You're a live tweeter. You're somebody who sits inside your head and watches your characters act it out, and then you just take notes,
Right.
right?
And then
Okay.
as they're talking, I'm writing. Like that's basically
Yep.
how it is. It's very
Hmm.
like live stream. You know what I mean? Like whatever they're
Yep.
talking
Hmm.
about is what I'm, writing.
I love when I'm in that mode. I'm not always in that mode. I have to kind of work to get there. But when I'm in that mode, holy moly, everybody's making me laugh. Like I know I'm making it up. I know it's a story that my brain is
I
inventing,
still kick and
but
giggle
I'm
I kick my
giggling and
feet.
kicking my feet and like yeah, exactly.
They're like, "What? Why are you
Okay.
giggling?" I'm making myself giggle. It's fine.
All right, let's talk about editing. How do you approach the editing process? And do you use alphas and betas? I actually know the answer to this, but why don't you tell
Yep.
the
So I have
watchers?
alphas and betas, and I
Hmm.
have a editor who kind of goes through it and everything. But
Hmm.
um, they tend not to. My big thing is commas. Like I
Hmm.
leave them out,
Yeah,
or since I run on my phone, a lot of times what they find is my quotations are the wrong direction
the wrong
because when you're
direction.
on your
Yes.
phone, that happens. But that's a lot of
Hmm.
what they end up finding
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I write pretty cleanly. So like, which is nice. So they go through and they're like, oh, okay, we're just gonna fix this, and we're just gonna keep going. And so
Yeah, that's
I've
great.
yeah, so it
Yeah,
works.
I count on my betas to find a lot of the kind of the bigger things, I guess.
Mine
The
is
wrong
I will
names
give
and
people other
mhm.
last names than what I expect. So like I'll
Yeah.
start out with
Hmm.
this last name and then I change it. And they like are like, are we doing this one or are we doing this one? And I was like, thank you, because I did not notice that I did that.
Well, I just realized the other day that I've used the name Henry in three different stories now,
I
and
was
I don't
like, you
even
like
know a
that name.
Henry. I don't
You
even know
know?
a Henry,
I
and
was
never
like,
as a main character. These are always just like side characters. It has to be like one of those like dependable names that I keep in the back of my brain. That's like I'm like, oh, I need a man's name, Henry. Like,
it's a good strong name.
it's a good name, right? But yeah, I did have a beta point out that I'm keep using the same names over and over again. I was like, oh yeah, I do. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna run out of time. I'm trying to think. Okay, what I want you to tell me about are your plans for this next year. What is 2025 looking like for you? Are you going to cons? I know you've got a lot of books lined up.
Yep. So I have Broken Dreams this month.
Hmm.
Next month is Monster.
Hmm.
May is the beginning of a really dark, bully, contemporary duet.
Okay.
Like it's secret society,
Okay.
a bet that like basically
Is it
will
at
like
like a college? Is it
the
like
at a
an
yep,
academic?
it's at a college. Like it's actually like a high school academy kind of thing.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
launches them into their next place in life. Right? They all have really dark pasts as well,
Hmm.
criminal pasts. Like their families are all kind of involved in that, and so
Hmm.
um, they get chosen. They're called the Carlisle Kings, and they get chosen by like the
Hmm.
kings before them, right? Freshman year, and there's
Oh, okay.
they have to choose a bet, and that bet is somebody who needs to die. And so, right, so they have to
Yeah.
kill her or him, right, in
Hmm.
order for the kings before them to go, okay, you did what you were supposed to do. You made a sacrifice. You
And
were
now you're
going
the kings of the school.
And not only that, we're also going to
Hmm.
remove you from any responsibilities from your parents. So
Ooh, okay.
right? So like you can go and you can do whatever it is that you want. You
So
no
this is a
longer have
chance
to
to
run a
escape
sex
from,
ring.
this is
Yep.
like, yeah, it's a chance for him to escape from like abusive parents too.
Right. Because their parents are
Yeah.
sex like they run sex rings or they
Yeah.
run really terrible pharmaceutical rings like
Hmm.
with the
Hmm.
drugs being like not things that they want to be a part of,
Right.
mafia, right, like all kinds
Right.
of those things. And so um one of them really doesn't
Hmm.
want to follow in his parents' footsteps. Like his parents
Hmm.
kidnap him and it's like, this, you might as well learn everything, like we've been sheltering
Hmm.
you and not telling you everything, you know what I mean? And so they kidnap him for 2 weeks and show him the ropes, and he comes back and he goes, I can't do this, we have to kill her. And they slowly are falling in love with her too, which is a problem,
Yeah.
right? There is
Is there,
MM and
I was,
FF in it. Mm-hmm.
that's what I was going to ask. Okay.
Yep.
Very sweet.
So Liliana is she is the her so her she her father is the stepfathers, right, of the
Hmm.
FMC, like go to like right hand man, right, for
Right.
mafia. And so he was like, all right, you are going to protect my stepdaughter, you're going to show her the ropes, you're going to do the things. And she was like, okay, like she's scared shitless of him too, so she's like, yes, yes, sir, absolutely. They fall in love like right away. Like they fall in
Yeah.
love, and she protects her the best that she can. She like gives her a weapon walking through the doors, like does what she can. And so it's dark. Like I made myself cry. This is the book that made my PA broken. She cannot pick up anything. She was like, "You broke me, Jen. Like I can't read anything."
Oh my
So,
God, poor
uh-huh,
Sarah.
I know, it's so bad. So I'm writing the second part of it next month.
Hmm.
And so those are going
Okay.
to release May, July. And then I
Hmm.
have another Omegaverse in June. And then I have an Omegaverse in August and October. And then I have 4 signings this year. I'm going to Miami. Uh-huh. I'm going to New Orleans. I'm going to a Tampa one, because it's close, and then
Hmm.
Book Harvest in Chicago.
Geez, what a big year. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's fantastic. Yeah.
Definitely a big year. So I'm excited. I was like, I'm gonna do the things. I also have an audiobook for Not My Sin in production too. That should release at the end of
Ooh.
May, and I'm really excited about that.
Hmm.
With
Did you go with a dual narration or?
I did. It's gonna
Yep.
be duet. I'm excited. I was gonna
Duet.
go big or go
Okay.
home, so I'm excited about that. It's gonna be Tyler Griffin and Molly Breyer.
Oh, I
Tyler
love
is
Molly
like,
Breyer. Oh my
yeah,
God, yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
and so she's gonna do Ren, and I'm really excited because Tyler has such a smooth voice, like has the ability of. I found out that he does a lot of so that's one of the reasons why he has
Hmm.
such a great way of doing all the male voices. That
Hmm.
scene in Not My Sin where she's leaving and she's jumping
Hmm.
the fence and Flynn is losing his shit, and like there's all the male voices happening as they're sitting here fighting about whether or not they're going to go after her or not.
That's
So
tough. Yeah.
good. And you can hear every single voice completely individual from the other person. I was
Oh
just
my
like,
God, okay. I'm making a note here. That's amazing. That's
mhm,
great. Wow.
yeah.
Okay, and we only have a minute, but I did want to just quickly touch on you have a co-write going with Alicia,
Hmm. That's
an
M
M
M
M
M M.
M M M. Mm. Yeah,
Yes.
tell me a little bit about that before we go.
Beg for it. It is
No, I
Crew.
won't beg for it. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
They're opposite crews. And so the father of Camden is really cruel and also homophobic and also
Okay.
anti-Omega as well. And that's Camden. He's got
Hmm.
pink
A gay
hair.
Omega. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And
Yes.
so he runs to Crownwell. He decides to get into this college, so far as he could possibly get from his dad. But the
Mhm.
guys who are there are part of the opposite crew. And there's all the stuff that had happened with them and their parents, etc. And so it just become they when they find out about that, they decide to make his life a living hell. And so,
Okay.
yeah, so it's a bully,
Mm.
MMM.
Hmm.
And I really like the fact, like, I'm in love with the tug and the psychoticness of these alpha betas. There's 2 alphas and 1 beta. And
Hmm.
Henley is the beta, and he is the protector. He is the one who is going, like, I love hackers. Like, that's something that you'll see in
Yeah.
a lot of my books is I love my hackers. He's the information person. So he's
Yeah.
involved in all the different like clubs because that's information. And
Right. Hmm.
if somebody hears something, he knows about it.
Love
And then
it.
he's
Yeah.
got
Hmm.
this wall of people who
Monitors
are
and
the people
computer.
that he has
Yeah.
to watch and people who are safe. And he's
Hmm.
got cameras all over the school. So it's exciting.
Love it. Okay.
We're
I
writing
adore
it.
that
We're
kind of
trying
thing.
to
Yeah.
release it next month. So
Wow. Okay. Okay.
we're
Can I ask you, like,
45,000.
what is your process for co-writing with Alicia? Are you guys taking individual characters? Are you like
We both
trading
have 2
chapters
characters
off?
each. Yep, so we both have
Okay.
2 characters each, and,
Hmm.
we're kind of we're kind of winging it because we figured out that when we try to, like, write things down, that keeps changing. So we'll write voice messages to each other in messages, and we'll pin them at least for,
Hmm.
like, the next 3 chapters going. and it flows and it works.
Wow, that's
So
great.
yeah, so that's what kind of
Okay.
what we're doing. Mhm.
Well, good luck. I hope you guys do great with that. I love Alicia's stuff. So, I mean, it should
Yes,
be a match made in heaven.
it's been
Yes.
really fun because they're like
hmm
they're crazy. And he's
hmm
so sweet. Like the Omega's just so cute. Like I just want to like wrap him up in a blanket and just snuggle him.
hmm Yeah, yeah.
But
That
the
sounds
pack is
like peak
definitely
Omega.
crazy. Yes, the pack is
Yeah.
insane. They're like, we may not be like flowers and
hmm
sweetness, but we could be everything for you. And
Oh,
there's gonna be we have a series name, it's called Sinful Verse, and we're going to be
sinful
writing
verse.
like spin-offs from it as we
Okay.
go.
Are they all going to be MMMM, or are they gonna
It'll
kind of
be
zip
either
around?
all MMMM or all FFFF or a mix of both. So I'm really excited. We
That's
already
really
we
great.
talked about at least 4 books so far. So
Oh my God, I would love to read an FFFF Omegaverse. I've never even heard of one. That would be amazing. Okay,
that's
put
fine.
my order down. Okay. Well, Miss Jen, we enjoyed having you today.
Thank you for having me.
You are a lot of fun, and you've been great. Thank you for coming over to Discord and talking with the book cultists a bit. And please keep keep dropping by and letting us know when we've got stuff coming out. And I'm sure people will jump on it because it's real good.
Thank you.
All right. Have a really great rest of your day. Enjoy your
Okay.
children, enjoy your writing, and ice your fingers occasionally.
I know, definitely. Like I noticed sometimes they get swollen. I was like, all right.
All right, well, it's time to go then.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.